It's now confirmed that Europe is being forcibly merged under the EU with Islam. There's deals made with Saudi Arabia and others. Saudi Arabia's come out and said, we've been told to build mosque in Europe. We've been told to do this. It's what the Catholic Church wants. It's what the new Pope wants. They want abortion. Ireland just legalized abortion. It'll be a sacrament soon. Well, Caolan Robertson has been there when this happened to Tommy. He's been covering the live events as they scaled the gates there at 10 Downing Street, almost total news blackout. Now they're at Speaker's Corner. He just got back to his place after all of this. They're in London. And if you just joined us on all those radio and TV stations out there, I think it's better if Caolan describes to you, just in a snapshot, who Tommy is. Most people know, now they do. And then the order that the press, thousands of different comments online taken down, hundreds of mainstream news articles from BBC to Sky Television just deleted the articles and said, we've been given a D notice. So again, England is not as free as folks think. Certainly not if you are actually someone from there. So thank you for coming on. You're at Caolan Rob on Twitter. And, of course, also are the main contributor with the work and the great work we see there at TommyRobinson.online. So thank you for coming on with us, sir.
Oh, thanks for having me. And you very accurately described what's been going on in this country in the last few days. We've seen news articles completely wiped out. I've spoken to journalists who are really, really keen for information, who have then later said, sorry, we had to pull the whole story. We can't talk about any of this. And it's very, 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 very worrying. There were even journalists, I mean, there's lots of technicalities about what I can and can't talk about. I was in the courtroom when all of this happened. Obviously, there's a reporting restriction. But, you know, when the judge even said that there's a reporting restriction, they closed the books. They wouldn't report on it after that. And it's a very, very, very bizarre situation. Usually reporting restrictions like this are only placed in very, very extreme cases, very, very high-profile cases. And there's not really any reasoning for them to do this in this particular scenario, other than so that people don't know that they've done something wrong. Thank God that you guys are reporting it. Thank God Infowars is making a deal out of it, and I think Fox News have just spoken about it. And that information is going to the UK. Thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people have been rioting and protesting about this now. They've all been talking about it in the streets, and that information is getting to the general public, despite their attempts to stop it. And so hopefully the ball will just keep rolling and more people will look to the US to find out information about this. But in this country, the situation, how it feels, going to pick up a copy of the local newspaper, going to look on any articles, there's a complete blackout. We can't see anything. The only people talking about it are people on Twitter. It's actually very strange. You know, it's a massive news story and it's completely unreported. It's the feeling in this country right now is absolutely bizarre. It's intensified the mistrust in the media. People are furious. I actually met with someone today who is from the left, who works for a very left-wing, very well-known media outlet. And they said they've never seen anger like this before. They said it's actually very, very worrying where this could go. If something happens to Tommy in prison, sorry, I'm just in the middle of London.
No, I understand you weren't able to get back to your house, and so you just got out of the a vehicle and are talking to us on the side of the road. It sounds great. We totally understand. Again, we're talking the main camera person, the main right-hand guy, Tommy Robinson, is with us right now. Caolan Robertson is here with us. And we're talking about an iron curtain of censorship that's taking place in multiple levels of a total power grab with political correctness, where they arrest police chiefs that talk about Muslim rapes in Sweden, where the Stasi has been reactivated and works for Facebook. You can't make this up, to arrest people that criticize Islam. Twitter and Facebook help the government of Pakistan find people that are atheist. They call it blasphemy, and they are executed. So you have to understand, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, Google, especially Apple, they're already working with the communist Chinese, rounding up the Christians and Buddhists. They're already working, helping the Arab Spring throw gays off buildings. The West funded that. The elites are allied with Islam because there's 1.8 million of them. The West is dying. And the decision hasn't been made to rehabilitate the Muslims and bring them into the West. I don't care if they got brown skin, a bunch of them. But their culture is pure, absolute evil, many of them. The biggest threat to a Muslim is other Muslims, as you know, Caolan. So get into, I understand this Iron Curtain of tyranny. He simply reported that they were having, as you know, huge trials on the child kidnapping rings that he had first exposed and been put in prison for. They give him a sentence for that. Then he's given 13 months commuted. He simply goes and covers they're having a trial. Nothing about the details of the trial, just that there is a trial. That's totally normal under jurisprudence, English common law, Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, Constitution, and your own law. Everybody knows that. They take him to jail for that, and then they order everyone not to talk about it, period, and denotice hundreds of publications. As you said, talking to other members of the press, this is unprecedented, and we have seen thousands hit the streets. Describe what you've witnessed, the level of awakening here. This is beyond the old Soviet Union.
Well, this is very, very different. I've been with Tommy for about 1.5 years now. We've gone to lots of protests. We've been to universities. We've been around the UK. But something very different has happened, and that's that people are now absolutely furious about this. There's a electricity almost in the air of people who have completely had enough of all of it. You're right about what you said with people being terrified, and the establishment, and our very establishment and our police being terrified about reporting on these grooming gang scandals. We haven't seen press restrictions on any cases with, people like Rolf Harris and all of these big, massive, high-profile cases with white pedophiles and things like that. We have the BBC with helicopters outside their house as soon as there's any accusations. This is completely unprecedented, and people can see straight through it. And you can feel the tension in the air of this country right now. You can cut it with a knife. It's so intense. It's quite scary, actually, seeing where this could go. And obviously, if any harm comes to him, I can predict mass violence across the UK. I can predict towns and cities coming to a standstill. We will not. What's about to happen is a change in a way we have never seen before in this country. Everything is shifting. There are journalists and there are mainstream people. I've met MPs and very, very high-profile people contact me and talk to me and saying that they want to go straight out, guns blazing, and going against this, but they'll probably lose everything. It's torn apart the fabric of the country right now, and everything's sort of fractured. I can't really describe how insane all of this is. I was in an LGBT bar the other day, yesterday, and everybody in there was talking about it. You've got fringe groups on the left, gays and transgender people, everybody shaking our hands and talking about this. It's united everybody who existingly would have been on the far left. It's very strange.
Because the general public, whether you're liberal, conservative, black, white, whatever, you're against pedophilia, even the average Muslim, but you've got this strand of Islam that does it, sex traffic going on, blacks being sold in cages in Libya, all this, and now we're finding out it's there. And as you said, they find a dead girl at Jimmy Savelle's place. It's national news. It should be. You've got helicopters at the Royal Palace when they find a dead kid buried in the backyard. But now suddenly there's a total blackout on these grooming gangs because, well, don't we know, it came out, a month ago before they did a blackout, that it turns out the major police and other social worker leaders were using the Muslims in many of these cases. Don't say which ones. I know you can't. Even though it's in the news there, you'll be arrested. Think about that, folks. They have the Muslims like Renfield, some letting the Muslims off the hook here, are delivering it to the pedo British elites.
Well, they don't, yes, exactly, and they don't quite know what they've done. I think the people who have instigated this, the people who have orchestrated it, the people who thought it was a good idea to silence him, are so out of touch, they don't quite realize that it's not going to work. In 2007, at the beginning of the EDL, when Tommy was starting out, they used to use these very tactics. They used to silence him, they used to throw him in jail, and no one knew about it. There wasn't the internet, there wasn't social media, there was no one to cause outrage. You do a press blackout and nobody knows what's going on. Now, they do not realize what they have done. In fact, if they wouldn't have put this press blackout, maybe not as many people would have known about this because it's caused such a scandal. They're so out of touch, they don't realize how this is going to erupt and how this is going to completely fail. This is, it's unprecedented.
So it's fair to say, I think you can mark this point as the beginning of the real explosion, the pushback against what's happening. They've jumped the metaphorical shark here. Folks know that these massive grooming scandals are happening in every city. They know Muslims and pedos are above the law, and folks are angry across the board.
Oh, yes, of course they do. I mean, a lot of people in this country, millions of people have known this is going on for ages. This is why we had Brexit. This is why in America you had Trump. We knew that the establishment was covering up cases since Hillsborough, and since before then. It's been proven.
Caolan Robertson, you're a hero as well with Tommy, the Antifa attacking you guys. Stay there. Back in 2 minutes. We're going to do a few more segments with you. Amazing. TommyRobinson.online.com. Go there, make donations. We've also made big donations. I did 20 grand a few months ago. That's why I need you to buy the products at InfoWarsStore.com.